The following presentation will outline the equipment required to perform a firmware update on a Gen 3.0 Proteus X, Proteus K, or Proteus B controller. It will also include the steps taken in running the firmware update program. You will need a laptop running Windows OS with the proper communication connections. The communication method to the controller is through an RS-232 connection. If your laptop is equipped with a 9-pin serial port, all you will need is a straight-through serial cable long enough to connect the laptop to the controller. Otherwise, you will need a USB to serial adapter. They come in different sizes and cable lengths. Depending on the length of the USB adapter, you may still require the serial cable. The firmware software comes on a microSD card. The microSD card can be inserted into the laptop based on its configuration. There are some laptops that are equipped with a direct plug-in microSD card reader slot. Others require an SD card adapter, which is supplied by Amtech. There are some laptops that may not have a microSD card, nor an SD card reader slot at all. If this is the case, you will require an SD USB adapter, which you may have to supply. It is important to have the laptop running on AC power. Should the laptop shut down or go to sleep for any reason during the update process, the Proteus system could corrupt and a recovery attempt is required. Contact Amtech's technical support for help with the recovery process. When connecting the serial cable to a Proteus X, it will be connected to the RS-232 DB9 connector on the bottom of the unit. When connecting the serial cable to a Proteus K, it will be connected to the RS-232 DB9 connector on the left side of the unit. When connecting the serial cable to a Proteus B, it will be connected to the RS-232 DB9 connector on the left side of the unit. It's a good idea to check and see if the USB adapter is being recognized by the laptop. This can be done by opening Device Manager and expanding the Ports section. If it is not there, it may be listed under Other Devices, meaning it probably needs a driver update. Once the microSD card is inserted, it should automatically open to the correct directory. Please note, based on the laptop's operating system, you may need to open the drive directly. The display directory is of our current 9.4 version. Other versions will have a similar looking file structure. It is important to open the correct Step 1 folder, based on the type of system you have. Either wired probes and sensors, or wireless transmitters. Should your system be a combination of both, contact Amtech's technical support. Once you open the correct folder, there will be a Proteus firmware update procedure guide that you can open and print. When ready, launch the program file titled update_pa2-11172014.exe. You may get a warning the program is trying to make changes to your system. Click on Yes. Please note, during the update process, it is important not to touch the screen of the Proteus controller. It will cause the controller to change its focus and could miss the required firmware packets. A command prompt window will open to this screen. Please note, for all entries made during this process, use an uppercase Y for yes or a lowercase n for no when answering questions. If you answer yes to enable log file, an update.log file is created in the C:\temp folder on your laptop. The program will begin looking for the ATG, automatic tank gauge. If it does not find it, check your communication connections. Ensure the RS-232 port on the Proteus controller is set for remote. Please note, if the Proteus is in setup mode, all communication paths are closed. If the ATG is found, it will query the controller to discover all boards that are installed in the controller. A Proteus B will only have a display, and either an XB416 or an XB800. A Proteus K will only have an MCU, a display, and either an XB416 or an XB800. A Proteus X will have an MCU, a display, and a wide variety and quantity of boards. It could include XB416, XB800, XB-RB8, and XB4IO boards. Wireless versions will have an XB416 DC and/or XB800 DC board. For each board installed, it will prompt you if you want to update the board. Depending on the reason for the update, some boards may already be at the correct version. You can answer no and bypass that board. It will ask you the same question for each installed board. After all installed board update questions have been answered, the program will begin updating the various boards. Updating will begin with the MCU board first, unless the system is a Proteus B. The program will connect to each board and send the required amount of firmware update packets. When the system gets to the display board, it will prompt you to process the GUI update as well. If you're updating the display, you must update the GUI as well, or the web interface will not show all available features. The GUI, Graphical User Interface, is the longest of the updates as it has 612 packets to send. As each process finishes, it is possible that you may encounter a timeout on the screen. This occurs because the program is trying to send the next group of packets, while the system is restarting after the last process. Wait, and the process should continue again. The process will finish and provide a summary of the updates made. You can then press the Enter key to quit the program. When you touch the display, you will see a prompt to recalibrate the screen. Press the center of the targets as they appear. Upper left, lower right, and center of the screen. Properly eject the microSD card that holds the firmware upgrade from the laptop and then insert it into the microSD card slot mounted on the MCU board of the Proteus controller. This slot is located between the RS-232 port and the RJ45 jack on both the Proteus X and Proteus K units. This is not required for a Proteus B. Please note, you will need to remove the 3 screws holding the metal plate covering these ports. Eject the original microSD card from the MCU board and insert the firmware microSD card. Reattach the metal plate with the 3 screws. This completes the firmware update process of a Proteus controller, Gen 3.0.